Coming to study in Australia, not a difficult process. It's easy. I wish I could tell them that I want to be an actor, but it seemed irrelevant. Or rather,
Hi everyone, for those new to my channel, I'm Siam Shoaib Noor, a rising senior in Bangladeshi at Harvard University studying applied math. As you know already, this is a playlist where I interview successful applicants studying at top universities across the world. If you want to get more of these videos, please subscribe below and smash that thumbs up button right now. This will help us win over the YouTube algorithm and it will help you get the interviews you need. Today, we have Abdur Rahman with us, who received a 50% scholarship from the University of Western Sydney. 50% scholarship amounts to approximately 65,000 Australian dollars over the span of 4 years, provided that he remains a good boy and a good student and does good results. But enough about that, let him introduce himself. So Abdur Rahman, why don't you introduce yourself?
that was a pretty solid introduction, actually. I'm Abdur Rahman. I am 20 years old. I'm studying in University of Western Sydney right now. I've been living in Sydney for the past 4 months, and I'm just like you guys. I enjoy football. I'm lazy, and I always am insecure that I have no potential. So I'm basically, in other words, just like a normal student would be.
Okay, that is a very genuine introduction. I loved it. We're all lazy. We're all waking up at 11 a.m. these days. But yeah, thank you for that. So let's talk about the next topic on our list, which is why should anyone consider Australia as a good undergraduate education destination?
It's because how they model their curriculum. It's very intensive, and by that it does not mean that there's like a lot of pressure on the students. The students can exercise their abilities over an extended period of time. There's a lot of time for the students to catch back to the pace that they need. Also, the pressure, it's like evenly distributed between all the weeks. So every week you're like engaged to study or like research, and the curriculum, it always pushes you so that you get to do your best.
Okay.
Secondly, I also wanted to say that studying here, the people are very friendly, and studying here gives you a very nice place, or let's just say it gives you a very nice destination where you want to be to study, because it's just really nice with all the people up there. So I mean, that's what attracted me to continue studying here, certainly.
Okay. What about the future after undergraduation? How does that, in your opinion or limited knowledge, compare to that of other countries?
Well, while students are studying here during their undergrad, what they mostly do, at least people who want to still stay in Australia, they get a visa extension.
Okay.
And in the time, they have to do a few things, like give their PTE exam after graduation. It's like a point system in Australia. So if you're able to raise a particular amount of points, you'll be given the permanent residence, after which you're free to do your master's, you're free to do a job with no hour restriction here. So most students, what they do and how they succeed is, while they're doing their undergrad, they're also working on their application. And apparently after, let's just say 4 years of undergrad and maybe 6 months after that, their application gets accepted and they're able to stay in the country, they're able to get a job, and they're also able to earn back all the money they've paid. All the investment they have made, they're able to bring it all back.
Okay.
Which is like very nice.
So from what I'm getting from you is that almost in most cases, it ends up in a net positive. So your investment in your education, you kind of covered that up as you earned throughout the years. and the Australian system is kind of lenient towards letting people who have good education stay so that they can contribute to that community. And that's like an
Yeah, yeah.
upside compared to
Oh my
like,
God.
let's say
Yes.
the US, where there are a lot of issues with regards to visa or anyone looking to stay
Yeah.
permanently. So thank you for that. In this interview, we'll be talking about securing a good scholarship, that which you have done. We'll be talking about your standardized exams, academic results, extracurriculars, essays, recommendation letters, and finally, overall advice. If
Yeah.
for the viewers, if you're wondering where to find those situations, or if you want only some of them, the timestamps have been provided in the description. Check them out, and that will help you navigate easily. So let's move on to the first thing on the list, which is scholarship. How did
Yeah.
you secure such a good scholarship, like a 50% scholarship in Australia? Could you walk us briefly through the process?
To be honest, I applied first, and like when you're applying to Australia, you have to apply to an agency. Um, that's, I don't know if that's the sad part or that's the happy part, because the agency, if an agency charges you money, then don't trust that agency. An agency isn't supposed to charge you any money.
Okay.
And the happy part is they do a lot of work for you. Like they put the entire application by themselves. You just have to
Okay.
give in your details. You have to provide a particular sign and everything. So I remember that me when I sat for this one agency. I sat with this one agency,
Are you
and
allowed
we
to
were talking.
disclose the name of the agency?
I'd rather not.
Okay.
I'd rather not,
Sure.
because
Yeah, sure.
it's still very relevant. That's
Okay.
the thing. I don't wanna, you know, influence people.
Yeah.
Although it's a very known agency and
Okay.
people
Makes
usually go
sense.
to that agency
And
first.
they did not charge money, or that is
No,
the
no, they
thing you're
didn't.
saying that they
They
shouldn't.
didn't charge me any money. Like they
Okay.
shouldn't, and they didn't charge me any money, which was good. So I went to them and I filled in all the details, and they were like, your result isn't good enough. Um, it's just not gonna work out with a scholarship. I had uh, an A star and two A's. That
That's
was my result.
really good. That's
No,
really good.
that's I wouldn't say that's good, because Australia is like they look for students like who have 4 subjects and 4 A's, or like 3 subjects and 3 A stars for scholarships. Got like a 30% in 2 universities and
Okay.
10% in 25% in one university. I still felt like it wasn't enough, and like I told you earlier, I'd given up hope. I got admitted to North South University, and then I decided to apply again, this time to a different agency. And they were like, your result is just good enough. You might be able to do something. Build up your application. I built up my application. I had my IELTS score. I had my results. I had a few recommendation letters and just a few ECS here and there. And then there's this thing called an SOP that you have to write for Australia.
Okay.
It's basically like, for USA, how you guys have to write an essay.
Yeah.
And SOP is something like that. And SOP also influences your visa outcome, and the university checks it. And it's like an entire background history about you, your family, your education, why you want to come to Australia, what's your future plans, why you're choosing this university, why do you think you're eligible for this scholarship, a lot of things. So I wrote that. I remember my working on my SOP took me like an entire month. So like a 3,000 word essay, I built it up in one whole month, and I would make edits every now and then. So I did that, and this time I applied, and before the I got enrolled, by the way. Well, no, not enrolled, sorry. I got the letter of enrollment, and they hadn't offered me a scholarship yet. That was still being decided. So at that point, this university representative came to the agency, and somehow me and a few other students, we got a meeting with her. And I remember one of my friends who's also in Sydney, and she's also studying with the scholarship. She was there, and her result was like superb. She has like 3 A stars, and she was like sitting there, and she was like, she's very smart, and she was asking all these questions, and I was like thinking, oh my god, I have no such questions, because I I was just hanging out with my friends when I get this call that you have an interview. Could you come?
Yeah.
And I had to make a journey in 2 hours. I took an Uber. I went 2 hours. It took me 2 hours to get there. I went there and I sat down with the university representative. So the first thing, she went through my result, and the first thing she tells me is that, I'm sorry, you're not eligible for the scholarship. And my heart gets broken then and there. I was like, oh my God, this hurts more than a breakup. Oh no, it doesn't, but it still hurts. So I was thinking like that. And she said that even without a scholarship, I think we'd love to have you there. And just to seem intellectual, I carried on the conversation. I said, do you guys offer internship? Do you guys work with SpaceX or Tesla? Because that's where I want to be eventually. And they said, yeah, we have lots of collaboration with them, and by the final year we'll be getting a lot of opportunities like that, which is one more reason why I wanted to come to Australia, because they heavily collaborate with the industry. There's like a lot of in-hand industry experience, which to me is like really great. So after that, after the interview, um, I left, and obviously I left with a lot of sadness and everything. Um, but something happened. I mean, 7 days later, I remember I was sleeping, and my mom somehow shouted. Like, she came to my room and she was like shouting, she was like yelling. I was like, what happened? And she's like, you know what, you got a scholarship. And I'm like, what? And then I woke up, I checked my email that I did, and that's basically my story. I don't know what happened. Probably it was the interview. Even more than the my results or my application, I would say it was the interview, because I did notice she was asking me questions, and she was like kind of testing to see if I fit into that eligibility of the scholarship thing. And I think I did. Probably, maybe that's what worked out for me. But what I want people to take away from my story is, never give up hope, because you never know what's gonna happen. If you give up hope and fall into despair, it's gonna stop you from working. Don't stop working. Never. If you see that one door is closed, just look for another opportunity. Right after that woman rejected me then and there, I was looking for other opportunities, because I was hellbent that I wanna come here. I wanna go out. And well, let's just say it worked out.
Yeah, I'm so glad that is a good story. I think even after she straight up told to your face that, hey, you're not eligible, you still put your game face on, went through a good
Yeah.
conversation, and
Yeah, yeah.
eventually ended up securing the scholarship by luck and by effort. So
Yeah.
kudos to you. Let's talk a bit about your IELTS score.
Yeah.
Um, like, what was the minimum requirements and how much did you score in each component, if you remember to an extent?
They want a 6.5 in every band,
Okay.
and the minimum that you need is a 6.5.
Okay.
I had a 9 in listening, I think an 8 or an 8.5 in speaking, a 7.5 in reading, and a 6.5 in writing. Overall, I had 8. But I remember that while I was preparing for IELTS, I think I take my mental health very seriously. That's why I always relate my mental health to how I'm doing every now and then. Because it's just like my physical health, If I'm sick right now, I wouldn't be able to do a lot of things. It goes the same with my mental health.
Absolutely.
While I was preparing for my IELTS, I don't know, I wasn't probably in a very uh, good place myself mentally. But somehow I took around 8 days, or rather 8 nights, because I'm more of a nocturnal person. I study during the night. So I remember that it took me 8 nights to prepare. I had this YouTube playlist and one book that I was going through again and again.
Do you mind
And
mentioning the
ultimately,
names of the playlists or
yeah.
book?
E2 IELTS. E2
Okay.
IELTS.
Okay.
It's very good. Their playlists really helped. and then the standard IELTS book, IELTS edition 13, something
Okay.
like that. That really helped me out then and there. I was able to download a few PDFs that I found randomly online for solving like comprehension. And ultimately, when I sat for the exam, I was really happy with everything, every band I gave. I was really happy with it, and the result that came out was much better than I expected.
That is good. It's great that it worked out for you. I think one thing to note, which is not that relevant to the interview, but still really, really important, is that your emphasis on mental health during all of the application. I think that's extremely crucial. It is as important as your physical health. And
Yeah,
during the application, it's really stressful time, and
yeah, yeah.
it is of utmost important that you keep a high, at least try to have like a good mental health state so
Yeah, I
that
mean, I
you
have
can
students
continue.
who like talk to me, and they tell me how scared they are of facing challenges, how scared they are to sit for their board exams. And I was like that, and the students might think they're alone at that time. I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be straight up with the fact that I was so pressurized while I was gonna sit for my grade 10 exam that I was contemplating killing myself. Because there was like so much pressure,
That's so
all the
bad.
teachers, all my friends, all my family members, they're like telling me that, okay, we are expecting you to do good. My mom and dad, the fear of letting them down. I think I was contemplating to just let go of the whole thing. And there were so many points where I felt like I'm gonna fall into despair. I have no hope. But somehow, way or the other, I think I carried around. And now that I see it and how maybe I have uh, mastered the fact that it's important to be mentally well, I think
Yeah,
maybe that helps me keep going.
yeah, I agree. I see what
Yeah,
you mean. Like during the when you're just kind of like graduating from high school, there's this insane level of pressure in Bangladesh.
yeah, yeah.
Or I
I
think
know, I
I,
know.
I think just like all over Asia, it's like almost if you don't get into somewhere good, you don't have an identity or the minimal respect given to a basic human, and it is
No, yeah, yeah, yeah.
crazy,
Definitely,
absolutely
definitely.
crazy. So I'm glad that worked out for you. Moving
Yeah,
on to our next section with academic results. Which
yeah,
institutions did you go to? What were your
yeah.
results? And how much do you think it contributed to your application?
My school, I did my schooling from Greendale International School, and I did my college, or rather A levels, from the same school.
Okay.
And uh, obviously, school gave me the environment that I needed.
Hmm.
Uh, I was really glad to have Greendale as a school, because although in school I do say a lot of things about school, that the school lacks this and that, but the teachers always took care of me. And obviously, I had a few special friends backing me up. I mean, and I'm so glad that all my friends are doing well alongside me. One of my friends, my best friend, came with me to Australia. Two of my best friends are in USA. One is also in USA. One is in Canada. And I mean, we all together created an environment for each other where we can just push each other, where we can just take care of each other. And as far as the application goes, I mean, school helped me with my academic application, or mostly my academic results. But apart from that, most of the things I had to do that on my own, which is fine to me, because the more I went out of my way to look out for something, the more experience I had.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned getting one A star and two A's in your
Yeah,
A level, and would you say that is kind of expected when getting into like a good Australian university?
I'd rather say you take four subjects and get three A's and one B. I mean,
Okay,
I would say that's even a better result when you consider, when you keep it inside with mine. Or I'd say that, what, get three A's, and that should be fine.
okay.
Don't stress much about it. Get three A's, man.
Okay.
So
That's good advice. I hope it is helpful for those watching
I
this.
hope so. I hope so. Yeah.
Moving on to your experience
Yeah.
kind of outside the classroom, what were
Yeah.
your extracurricular activities, the major types? What were kind of your biggest highlights in each type?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, my ECAs didn't really play a part in my application, and I'll tell you why. It's because I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that, I did this, I did that.
Yeah.
I really wish I had focused on one thing. Like, I love playing football. I wish I had focused more on that to build up ECAs on that, or maybe I like doing MUNs as well. And I did one MUN actually. And I was like so happy with how I did. I really wanted to continue. I wish I did, and I wish I had like continued doing that. But
Yeah.
what I did was I worked as an intern in a human rights organization. I arranged took the initiative of clothes donation during the winter. I did a physics Olympiad, I did a math Olympiad. I remember doing horribly at them. I remember that in the physics Olympiad, there was this question, and I am like a grade 12 physics student. I should have known those answers, but I get this question, and at the end, I started to draw. I started to draw things, and the invigilator, she just came to me and she was like laughing at what I was doing. So yeah, maths Olympiad, physics Olympiad, internship for a human rights organization, um, an MUN, and I think that's it. So,
Okay.
like, it's that bad. My ECs were that
Okay.
bad.
So what I'm kind of getting from your profile is that when it comes to Australian applications, I think academics play a much more important role than extracurricular activities.
They do.
In contrast to like U.S. universities, where
Yeah,
they
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of value it equally.
Yeah,
So
EC.
thank you. So let's talk about the next important part, which is
Yep.
the essay, or what you would call the statement of purpose,
Yeah,
SOP. So
yeah,
like
yeah.
any thoughts on what you focused on in your SOP, how to write a good one so that they look positively at your application.
Well, SOP, what really happens is that when someone starts to write their SOP, they get really, I mean, let's just say they get a very limited amount of time. And you can't really build up your whole life in a 3,000 word. Why? Oh, you can actually. You can.
Yeah.
You can build up your life in a 3,000 word essay. But if you want to do it nicely, like put a focus on each paragraph, you'll have to work on it because there are a lot of things. You have to talk about your family, how your bond is with them. You have to talk about yourself, your educational background, what are the extracurricular things you've done, why do you want to come to Australia, then why are Australian universities good? Why do you think? How is the environment of the place where you want to study? Like, I'm in Sydney. Why do I think I should be in Sydney? Then what about my future uh, plans? Then why am I choosing to apply for this scholarship? What makes me think I'm eligible for the scholarship? And am I aware of all the Australian rules and regulations or not? So there's a lot to write, and I mean, you can write that normally and everything, but it's your story, man. It's your story. We all want this opportunity where we feel like we want our stories to be heard. Well, this
Yeah.
is one opportunity where it will. It's like a mini autobiography of yourself,
Yeah.
although it relates to one particular aspect of your life. Obviously, studying isn't everything, but it does relate to a huge aspect of your life as a student. So, I mean, build that up in a span of a long time, like a month, like edit that, add things you want to be added, eliminate things that you think are irrelevant. Just make it sound like, or when you're writing it, just make sure that you tell the person your story. And like when you're telling your story, you want it to be intriguing, just do that. And you don't have to do that by adding interesting words or telling about the time when you went scuba diving. Nothing like that. Just be simple and tell your story. That's it.
Okay. So I think you focused on how this is an opportunity for us to really lay out ourselves and what we did in our lives to be authentic. You don't
Yeah.
have to talk about like extraordinary movie-like experiences. You just
No, no, no,
tell
definitely
your
not. Definitely
stories.
not.
Um,
Definitely not.
so yeah, that is a refreshing take on that. A lot of people kind of feel like when they have to talk about their lives or highlight their lives, they have to kind of show these like really movie-like experiences,
I'm just
which
gonna
is
do this,
not
all
the
right. I'm just
case.
gonna do this. I'm gonna be an interviewer here right now. I mean, can you describe yourself in 30 seconds?
That is a good one. I am Siam Shoaib Noor. I am a rising senior and a
Yeah.
Bangladeshi at Harvard University. On the side, I like to work on professional and business development, but what really defines me is that I try to learn things and I make sure that I can help people with that knowledge that I've gained. So yeah, that's
See,
impromptu.
what you did was introduce yourself, tell what you're studying, tell what you're doing on the side, tell your future plans and what defines you. Five things, and it didn't even take you 30 seconds. Now imagine that you have to write the same five things, but in a 3,000 word essay, and you have a lot of time to do that. Obviously, it's gonna turn out great, right? It's,
Yeah.
it's just something like that. It's something
So
like that.
okay, so what I'm getting is like you have 3,000 words to really like craft what make you who you are, who you want to be, what's your purpose, and how that education kind of aligns
Well, obviously,
your.
I couldn't. I wish I could tell them that I want to be an actor, but it seemed irrelevant. Or rather, the person who was going to the final, the person who was actually proofreading my entire thing, told me that it's not relevant. You're gonna be an engineer. I was
Hey
like,
man,
oh, all
I
right.
believe in you, man. You're gonna be that actor, okay? You're gonna be
I
that
hope so.
actor.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
I believe in you. So moving on to the next
Yeah,
section, which is recommendation letters.
yeah, yeah. Oh yes.
Whom did you ask to write your recommendation letters, and why did you ask them?
So I worked in this human rights organization as an intern, and that was a life-changing experience for me. I was up there almost once a week with my friends, and I was working with them. We were working on these very sensitive cases. I mean, you're from Bangladesh, you know the kind of sensitive cases we have, or a
Yeah.
human rights organization really deals with, or the kind of violation there is. We worked with that, we worked on those things, and I mean that was a life-changing experience for me. And my boss, obviously, I used to call her auntie, and auntie really saw through what I have as a person. She saw through my potential, obviously, other than my parents and my friends, I'd say, and my teachers as well. Auntie really saw through me that I have something. So when it was time, obviously, I went to her with the request that please write my recommendation letter. And apart from that, I had a teacher with whom I worked as I was a student of his, and after that, I also worked as his lab assistant. I was a lab assistant the past 1 year before I came to Australia. I took maths, grade 11 maths, and grade 11 chemistry and physics lab. So I asked that teacher as well to write up an recommendation about how they feel about me. I think that really helped me because those two people really saw me work. They saw me work through pressure, through difficult situation. I think that really helped my application, my recommendation letters.
Okay,
So
so
have it written by someone who's honest and who's seen you go through different scenarios, pressure, uh, being casual, how to talk to people, how to manage tasks and everything.
okay,
Yeah,
so the primal focus. I really like what you did at the end here. Um,
yeah,
to get it written by someone who's honest and more importantly,
yeah.
someone who has seen you go through situations which are often common in a classroom.
No, no, no.
Something that
Yeah, yeah,
tells like something inherent to who you are as a person and how you
yeah,
deal with different challenges, and that is important. Thank you for sharing that. Moving on to the final section of
yeah.
our interview, which is final advice. The prime questions in this section is if you were to apply again, would you do differently? And looking back, what are some great advice that applicants who are gonna go through this process are better off knowing?
Or I'll start off with the first thing. What would I do differently? I would definitely, uh, well, for application, I really don't regret doing anything the way I did. I think I followed the normal path, you know? I mean, it's something like this. I planned everything out with my dad. Me and my dad sat down and we were like, I'm gonna submit this then, and we're probably gonna get a reply then by the university, and then we're gonna apply for this. I'm gonna stand for my visa, and then my visa's gonna get there by this time. And I don't know, quite incidentally, or like fortunately, everything fell into place. So like I thought that, oh my god, I'm gonna get my visa by well, all right, January 2020, and I got my visa by January 23rd. So I could plan out the whole thing. So if I really had to do something different, I'd probably come here having a better understanding about Australia, the people around here, the environment, the university environment. That is one thing that like North South helped me with. Since I was in an university, I could understand the environment. I could fathom the kind of thing a university student might go through. So probably I would garner more experience, undoubtedly, about as far as the application is concerned. Like I said, there is no perfect way to tell your story. You can always work on it. So I'd probably work better on my SOP, and obviously if it comes to academics, I would probably have paid more attention to studying rather than hanging out and chilling with my friends, although I don't regret that. But if you truly want me to do something different, I think I'd pay more attention while I was an A-level student. And I'm sorry, but I didn't catch the second question.
It's if you were to give some
Yeah.
advice to applicants who are going to start the application now, what are
Yeah.
things they're better off knowing?
Well, like about my initiative as well. I've had students knocking me and students who want to come to Australia, and there are many other students who wanted to come to Australia. So to all of them, one thing I said is, first know yourself, know your grades, know your potential, select your major. That's the first thing. It really upsets me when students just want to come abroad because they don't want to study in Bangladesh. They just want to come abroad. No, you know what? You have to be passionate about where you want to study. If you really want to study at MIT or Harvard or even IBA, which is great, IBA is great. If you want to study there, man, work for it. If you don't crack it, it's fine. Look for your option B, look for your option C. So that's the first thing I tell them. Select your major. Don't wait for someone else to select it for you. Select at least 5 to 6 universities that suit you. And that means your results, scholarships they offer, the major they offer, their geographical location, the financial aid they provide, all these things, shortlist them, know them. Secondly, be patient throughout the whole procedure. Don't give up. I think it's always the wrong idea to give up, because if your university number 1 doesn't work out, your university number 2 might. That doesn't work out, university 3 will. I mean, that is Australia for you. You don't get rejected. You won't get rejected. You will get accepted. Maybe not with what you were expecting, but maybe some other university is gonna give that to you. So don't lose hope. And throughout the entire thing, study the whole procedure about how everything's going, and that's gonna give you let's just say peace of mind. And at the same time, what I really want to tell students is, if you are in A levels and HSC, or let's just say a college candidate, please focus on your final year very properly. And by that I mean, please spend time working, gathering experience outside the classroom, and obviously studying. You don't really have to study science all the time. You could study anything, literally anything. And trust me, if you do, you're gonna get to a good place. So be passionate, work hard, Study the whole procedure, stay patient, write down your story or your SOP properly. And last but not least is obviously be ready, build yourself to take a mental challenge, because again, mental health. I came here and I started feeling very alone because my mom and dad weren't here. My girlfriend was back at home, and it was like so many things going on for me. I was like missing all of them very badly. So I came here, and for initially it was very difficult, especially after universities closed down and everything transitioned online. I was making friends, and all of a sudden, like, I lost touch with them. So you have to be ready to take any kinds of pressure. You have to be ready to take any kinds of challenge, and that is the most important thing. Build yourself up till then. I mean, that's what I can tell students. Other than that, coming to study in Australia is not a very difficult process. It's easy. The job you have to do is get good grades and a good IELTS score, and after that, I think everything's gonna take care of itself.
Well, thank you so much. I think that was a very genuine overview of everything you have to know on a high
Yeah,
level to get in yourself into a good place to study at Australia with a good scholarship. That is all for our viewers. There are more interviews coming up after this. We're interviewing students from different universities of different countries. We're looking at Japan, we're looking at Singapore, we're looking at masters and PhD at top universities from like ranging from Oxford to MIT. So stay tuned. The way you can get access to
I was
them
gonna
is
interview you, by the way. Someone needs to interview someone who got into Harvard, right?
I mean, like we have a few interviews at Harvard in the playlist, so I think interviewing me is not necessary at the moment. However, if we get enough requests, if you want to see an interview of myself, let us know in the comment below, and then
Please
maybe I
do.
will do it for the audience right over here. But if you want to get these interviews, you know what to do. Subscribe. But it was a pleasure having you here, Abdur Rahman.
Thank you.
If anyone finds his advice helpful, please let him know. I will link his Facebook below. If you have an Instagram, I will link that below as well. Hit him up, follow him, give him some clout, make him feel loved. But thank you so much for coming to the show. That brings us
You're
to the
welcome,
end
mate.
of our interview.
Thank you.